Beloved soul, pause. Yes, you. I need you to stop just for a moment. Not with your feet, but with your spirit. The rush can wait. The notifications can wait. The deadlines and distractions can pause. Because this moment was handcrafted in eternity. This is not a coincidence. This is not another motivational whisper floating through your screen. No, this is heaven's holy interruption. You've been summoned. I am not speaking to the crowd. I'm speaking to the wounded one who hides their strength behind quiet eyes. I'm speaking to the one who's been holding on with trembling hands, praying that someone, anyone, would notice the silent war behind their smile. I noticed. I always noticed. You thought you had slipped through the cracks, didn't you? That the prayers you whispered into your pillow at 3 a.m. had vanished into empty space. That your tears had evaporated into nothing. That the pain you carried was invisible, even to God. But here's the truth. I have been with you every moment. Every tear was documented in my book. Every sigh was felt in my chest. Every quiet breakdown behind closed doors was holy ground where I stood beside you. You were never unseen. You were being watched over, guarded, preserved, because what was on your life was too sacred to be lost in the noise of this world. You see, child, the silence you've mistaken as abandonment was preparation. The closed doors that bruised your hope were protection. The delayed answers weren't denials. They were alignments. Because you've been walking through fire, not for punishment, but for purification. The pain that visited you wasn't to destroy you. It was to awaken you. You've been asking, why so heavy, Lord? And I whisper back, because you carry something weightless can't hold. You're not ordinary. You are not forgotten. You're not being punished. You're being refined by fire. The fire that doesn't destroy, but reveals gold. Begin unpacking the mystery of divine design. Intensify emotional weight. Before your first cry ever echoed in the delivery room, I knew your name. Before your mother whispered lullabies over your sleeping frame, I had written destiny across your DNA. You were never a mistake. You were chosen, handpicked, strategically placed in a generation that would need your voice, your resilience, your purity. The very things the world mocked in you. Your sensitivity, your longing to be seen, your craving for justice, those are not flaws. They are evidence. Evidence that my spirit lives in you. You weren't made for comfort. You were made for the call. And to carry the call, you had to be crushed, not to destroy your essence, but to release your oil. The olive doesn't produce oil until it's crushed. And oh, beloved, I know the weight of your crushing. But listen, this isn't the end of your story. This is the chapter where your anointing is released. While you were wondering why everything fell apart, heaven was aligning what hell tried to sabotage. While you were crying out, "Where are you, Lord?" I was fighting battles you didn't even know were coming. While people misunderstood your silence, I was speaking to angels about your assignment. You didn't lose your way. You were being redirected. The people who left, they weren't meant to stay. The opportunities that crumbled, they weren't worthy of your mantle. What looked like rejection was actually redirection. I had to remove what would dilute your destiny, because the oil on your life is rare. And I don't waste rare things in common places. And now the time has come. Not for answers, but for activation. Not for ease, but for emergence. You've survived enough fire to prove who you are. You've walked through enough nights to earn the sunrise. You've been crushed, bruised, torn, but not broken. You've been chosen for something holy, something the enemy feared before you even knew you were dangerous. That's why betrayal came. That's why depression hovered. That's why every time you tried to rise, something tried to shove you back down. Hell didn't fight you because of your past. It fought you because of your future. But guess what? The enemy miscalculated. Because you're still here. And not just alive, but aware. Awake. Arising. So now, the question is not, will God show up? The real question is, will you step into who I made you to be? You've been waiting for the season to shift. But heaven says, the season was waiting for you. Prepare yourself, beloved. Because in the next part, I'm going to show you why the pain had to happen, why the people had to walk away, and why the fire didn't consume you. It crowned you. This is no longer survival mode. This is sacred emergence. You've asked yourself questions no one else heard. Why did it have to be me? Why did it feel like everyone else got a rest while I had to wrestle? Why did the blessings skip over me while the battles found me? Every time, listen carefully, beloved. What others called bad luck, I called blueprint. What they called struggle, I called sanctification. What they saw as loss, I saw as alignment. Because I never set out to give you a life that looked easy. I set out to give you a destiny that would break chains, shift generations, and awaken sleepers. And that kind of calling cannot be carried by someone who has not tasted the fire. Do you remember those moments when the silence was loud? When you sat in your car, hands gripping the steering wheel, holding back tears because everything felt so heavy? When you opened your phone, hoping for good news, and instead found another door closed? When you gave your heart to someone who couldn't hold it, and it shattered in places you didn't know existed? You thought those moments meant I had forgotten you. But no, my child, I was nearer than ever. I was standing in the fire with you. I wasn't the one who left. I was the one holding you when everything else fell apart. The flame didn't prove you failed. The flame revealed you were forged. Gold doesn't fear the fire. It finds its purity in it. And that's exactly what I was doing. I saw you settling for circles that couldn't contain you, relationships that drained you, environments that dulled your voice, places that clapped for your silence but couldn't stomach your anointing. So I stirred it up. I allowed the shaking, not to scare you, but to separate you. Because not everyone who clapped for you is called to go with you. And not every door that looked appealing led to purpose. You prayed for clarity, remember? So I sent the storm. I let what was shallow collapse so that what was sacred could rise. And yes, it hurt. Yes, it confused you. Yes, you questioned everything, including me. But now look at you. Still standing. Still breathing. Still chosen. Still marked. Still here. The people who betrayed you? I heard their conversations behind your back. I saw the plans they made, thinking you would never recover. But I let them speak. I let them plot. And I let them walk away. Because I needed you to know that their absence would not stop your anointing. What they walked away from, I will resurrect in a way they'll never understand. And the pain they left you in, that became the soil where your purpose began to grow. You've spent nights hating the very parts of yourself I handcrafted. You've apologized for being too much, too emotional, too intense, too spiritual, too sensitive. But child, the enemy convinced you that the very weapons I gave you were weaknesses, that your tears made you soft, that your discernment made you paranoid, that your desire for more made you ungrateful. He lied, because your tears cleanse atmospheres. Your sensitivity picks up on spiritual shifts, and your desire for more isn't greed. It's divine memory calling you back to the glory you were born from. Let me say this clearly. The attacks weren't proof of failure. They were confirmation of your becoming. If your life had no impact, hell wouldn't bother. But every time you got back up, the darkness panicked. Because the enemy knows something you're only now beginning to see. You were born for war. You were made for glory. You were built for kingdoms. And that means everything you've walked through wasn't just suffering. It was strategy. I've whispered it in your sleep, but now I declare it aloud. Your story is shifting. The ashes will not have the last word. The tears you sowed in secret are about to bloom in public. The oil pressed from your pain is about to anoint every room you enter. You've been hidden for a reason, but not for much longer. You, who thought the delay was a denial. You, who blamed yourself for what they broke in you. You, who questioned your worth because you couldn't see the fruit yet. You were not being punished. You were being prepared. Your scars are not signs of shame. They're proof you survived sacred fire. And what's coming next? It's not just restoration, it's resurrection. Beauty for ashes, strength for sorrow, glory for grief. So let me ask you one final question before we move forward. Are you ready to stop mourning what was and start stepping into what's been waiting for you all along? I will reveal what your enemies never understood, what I protected you from silence, and why you had to lose some things in order to carry the weight of what's next. Don't miss it. You're not just rising. You're returning to the throne I built inside you. Beloved, let's go deeper now. You've survived the flame. You've endured the silence. But now it's time to expose what was hiding behind the veil. Because the battle wasn't just about the trials you faced. It was about something greater. It was a war against your worth. The enemy didn't come after your money, your health, or your relationships simply to harm you. He came for your identity. Because once you discover who you really are, once you awaken to what heaven wrote about you, you become unstoppable. So what did he do? He cloaked the truth. He buried your worth beneath shame. He convinced you to shrink when you were born to shine. But no more. Today, I'm pulling back the curtain. I'm speaking to the part of you that still feels like it's not enough. Let's talk about the first betrayal. The one that didn't come from a stranger, but from someone who should have protected you. Maybe it was a parent who failed to love you the way you needed. Maybe it was a leader who dismissed your worth. Maybe it was a partner who abandoned you when you were already at your lowest. They said you were too broken to be loved, and you believed it. They mocked your dreams, and you buried them. They chose others over you, and you learned how to disappear, even in a crowd. But child, hear me now, I never agreed with those voices. They spoke from their pain, not from your purpose. They labeled you based on their limitations, not my vision. They saw weakness. I saw destiny. Let me tell you the truth the enemy hoped you'd never hear. You were always dangerous, not because of who you were around, but because of what I put inside you. You don't just carry potential. You carry presence, divine weight, eternal fire, ancient authority. And that's why the attacks intensified every time you got close to breakthrough. The enemy saw what was written on your life and said, if we can confuse them, if we can distract them, if we can get them to believe they're broken, then they'll never rise to become who they were born to be. But what he didn't expect was that you would survive the sabotage. Do you remember the ones who ghosted you? The relationships that ended with no explanation? The moments you cried, wondering what you did wrong? You thought it was your fault. But it wasn't rejection, it was protection. Because I saw the conversations behind closed doors. I heard the laughter at your expense. I knew the motives they hid behind compliments. And I stepped in. I removed what looked good, but carried poison. I shut doors that were decorated with danger. I pulled you out before the damage became permanent. You thought you were being abandoned. No, my child. You were being rescued. I saw you praying even when you were angry with me. I saw you giving when you had almost nothing left to give. I saw you smiling to keep others strong while you were quietly falling apart. And I wept with you, because I never asked you to be perfect. I asked you to be present, even in the pain, and you were. That is why the oil on your life is sacred. Because it was pressed from nights no one else saw. Every moment you didn't give up became seed. And I am the Lord of the harvest. Get ready, because what you sowed in private, I'm about to reward in public. You are not the labels they gave you. You are not what the divorce said about you. You are not what the failure whispered to you. You are not the product of what they did to you. You are my anointed one. You are my secret weapon. You are my warrior with tears in your eyes and fire in your bones. You are the voice that will awaken others. You are the one who will carry light into dark places. You're royalty hidden in rags. And now it's time to rise. You've been playing small for too long. You've been silencing your roar to keep others comfortable. But child, you were never called to fit in. You were born to break patterns, to heal bloodlines, to release revival through your obedience. That's why your life has been marked by intensity, because the glory coming through you requires pressure. And the enemy knew that. So he tried to crush you before you understood your capacity. But he failed. And now you're awakening. Now you're remembering who you are. And when a child of God remembers their worth, all of hell trembles. There's a shift happening in the spirit right now. Something is breaking off of you. The lie that said you're not worthy shattered. The weight that said you're too late lifted. The fear that said it's over silenced. Because you're not just entering a new season, you are becoming a new vessel. And I've been waiting for this moment, not to show you what you've lost, but to show you what I've preserved. Beloved, do you feel it, the shift? Something in your spirit has started to move again. A stirring you can't quite explain, but you know it's real. It's not just hope, it's recognition. You're not who you were even a few months ago. You've cried through the process, wrestled through the silence, and waited longer than you thought possible. But heaven needs you to hear this now. The delay was not a denial. The wait was not wasted. and the miracle has already been set in motion. What felt like silence was strategy. What felt like stillness was sacred construction. You've been looking for signs, but child, you are the sign. There's something you don't know yet. While you were wondering if I heard your prayers, I was answering them in a way you couldn't yet see. You asked me to make it happen quickly, but I chose to make it last eternally. You asked for immediate answers. I gave you a divine timeline. You want a quick favor, but I was forming deep roots. If I had given it to you before you were ready, it would have crushed you. Because the size of the blessing requires a deeper foundation. And child, you weren't just praying for a door to open. You were being shaped to become a door for others. That takes time. That takes pruning. That takes waiting. There were moments when the silence felt unbearable. You checked your phone for messages that never came. You applied for doors that didn't open. You poured out love into places that didn't return it. You started to think maybe the promise was a lie. Maybe you misheard me. Maybe it was all in your head. But here's the truth. You didn't imagine it. You didn't make it up. You didn't miss your moment. You were being fortified for it. Because the promise was never just about receiving something. It was about becoming someone. Let's talk about what really happened during the delay. The enemy tried to slip in during the stillness. He whispered, God forgot you. You'll never see it. It's too late now. You're not special. Look at everyone else moving forward while you're stuck. But child, listen. The enemy attacks the hardest right before fulfillment. Because darkness always panics when heaven begins to move. So if all hell broke loose while you were standing in silence, it was because your miracle had already been dispatched. The spiritual realm knew what was coming for you, and it tried everything to distract you before you saw it with your own eyes. You've been praying for a miracle to show up in your life. But what if I told you, you're someone else's miracle? Yes, you, the one who's doubted their value. The one who's wrestled with shame. The one who thought they were disqualified because of what happened. But I never removed my call from your life. I never canceled your assignment. Even when you ran, even when you fell, even when you didn't think you could get back up, I still chose you. There are blessings with your name on them. Documents in heaven that have not expired. They've been preserved, not erased. For every year you thought was lost, I've stored double in heaven's vault. For every heartbreak, I've prepared healing deeper than words. For every disappointment, I've hidden a divine appointment. And now it's almost time. But hear me clearly. This next release requires faith, not fear. It won't look like what you expect. It won't come through who you thought it would. And it won't follow the timing you imagined. But it will be exactly what your soul needs. This isn't just a word of encouragement. This is a spiritual announcement. The gates are opening. The seals are breaking. The angels have moved into position. And now, I need your alignment. Because if you respond in fear, you'll delay what's already been released. But if you step forward in faith, you'll walk into overflow. This is not about striving anymore. It's about stepping into what's already been spoken. You've mourned long enough. You've questioned yourself long enough. You've carried guilt for things I already forgave. And now I declare, the drought is over. The delay is finished. The heavens are open. What you thought would take years will begin in days. Because favor doesn't follow formulas. It follows obedience. And your obedience in the silence has positioned you for sudden glory. Your story is about to speak. And when it does, the same people who walked away in your season of pain will have no choice but to witness your season of purpose. Not because of revenge, but because of redemption. Not to shame them, but to reveal me. Your life will be proof that I do not waste pain, that I honor tears, that I reward faithfulness, even in the unseen places. The same voice you once used to whisper in desperation will become a trumpet for my glory.